We're gonna do some tube bending this morning. We will use this a lot out in the field, whether it's copper, aluminum, tube. Lots for pneumatics is a big part of this, guys. You know, we all know what pneumatics is, right? Right now? Okay, good. And anywhere from running services up to fridges, okay? And then Mike was talking about steam tracing as well. Okay, so if you open up your assignments here that we have here, I will do the first few bends with you and teach you guys how to do it, okay? We are doing 90-degree bends for this assignment, and there is a few tricks I'll show you in order for you to bend it properly and the right way, okay? A square will always help you here as well. I'm gonna grab one right now. So we can see on our assignment, our first measurement is 3 inches, okay? So we're gonna measure right off the end of the tubing here, and when we bend this, the long portion of the tubing is to the right, okay? That is really, really important when we're doing that, okay? So I'm gonna make a mark around my tubing with the Sharpie, and I have Sharpies for all of you guys today too as well, okay? And I wanna go all the way around when I make the mark. It'll just make it a lot easier for me to see it when I put it inside of the benders, okay? You can see we have our 2 benders here, all right? We have a 0, a 45, and a 90-degree. And then up on the top of the benders, you can see an R, you can see a 90-degree, depending on which ones you have, okay? Yeah, same here, 45, an R, and an L. The L would be the 90 on these types of ones here, okay? If you don't see the 90-degree on the top of your tube benders, all right? What you want to do is you want to slide your tubing in to here. You're going to lock it into place, but these ones you don't necessarily have to. The tubing will slide underneath, okay, this locking portion here, all right? You're going to bring the top portion down so that the 0, and pardon me folks, lines up with the 0 here. We're starting at 0. Okay, you can see a 0 on the top and a 0 on the bottom of the benders, all right? Which is really important that it lines up there, okay? The next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna take your mark that you made and you're gonna put it on the 90, all right? And if you have these ones, you're gonna put it on the L, okay? Which means what? Anyone know? The L, left-hand bend, okay? All right. Next, we are gonna take this and we are gonna bend it down and we're gonna bring that 0 on the top portion here down to the 90, okay? Which is going to give us a 90-degree bend, right? We have a nice, clean 90-degree bend at that point, okay? Now, if you try to bend this stuff by hand, we're gonna get a really long turn, and then we have that opportunity to kink this, which is the last thing we wanna do, all right? Tell you, Mike was right. If you do a good job at this, they're gonna let you do this every single time. And this is guaranteed 3 months. The same thing applies in the plumbing and mechanical rooms. We run lots of pneumatics to operate the valves and stuff in the mechanical rooms. That's 3 extra months of work, okay? That's a really good job to get, all right? Next thing you wanna do is check it, okay? And make sure we're at 90 degrees, okay? That one seems to be pretty good, okay? You do have some give in this. If you have to go back a little bit, you can, all right? Or forward, so on and so forth, okay? Now the next bend is a little different. The first one's very easy because we're just measuring it off the end and going to the next bend. But we can see here, our next measurement is 4 inches, okay? We want to measure from the center of our previous bend, okay? Not from the top of the tube, not from the bottom. You're gonna put it on the center portion here, okay? Then we're gonna mark 4 inches off of there.
That's off the actual tube.
Yes, so you can see whatever bend you're making, you're going to the previous one and measuring. I'm gonna put my tape measure on the center of the tube and I'm gonna come down and mark my 4 inches here, okay? And again, you want to mark it all the way around. And then I'm gonna show you a little trick so that you know you are bending it in the right direction, okay? Yes.
Showing again like where where you're holding the tape measure?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I have a 4-inch and I'm gonna put it right on the center of the tube before, and then I'll show you that again for the next bend as well, okay? And you can see that I have made a mark all the way around. Now, this is where it can be a little bit tricky because you're like, I don't know which way to put it in the benders in order to get it that proper direction. My next bend I'm looking for it to come out here to the right, okay? Now, if you want that to happen, what the good trick to do, you guys, is, oh, it's gonna bend up to the right, so I'm going to put a mark where I want the tube to bend, okay? I have my mark that goes all the way around. Now I'm putting a vertical mark here, all right, so I know I want it to come up in that direction, okay? So what you're gonna do with that mark now, all right, is you're gonna put that into the tube, or into the bender. You see we have this curved portion of the bender here. Your mark, wherever you want it, whatever direction you want that to bend, you put it into there. Okay, so facing down into the bender. All right? Then you, pardon me?
You hide it.
Yeah, you hide it, absolutely, okay? Then you know you're gonna bend it in the proper direction every single time. And again, we're gonna get our zeros lined up, okay? And we're gonna put our mark that goes around the tube, we're gonna lock it into place, and we're gonna line our mark up with the 90, okay? Now this is where it can be a little tricky and difficult. You must look at your benders. I want a nice true 90 degree. You're gonna look at the face of the benders here, okay? And you're gonna get this so that it is, okay? We have a nice 90 degree angle there, okay? Really pay attention. Do not line it up with the handle, okay? Because the handle comes off at an angle, all right? The face of the benders here, where we have all our increments here, is on a slight angle off of the handle, okay? So you want to try and do your best and get it 90 degrees off of that handle. Okay, I'm on there, I'm marked. Now, again, you can see my tubing comes out to the right. The long portion is to the right. If you do it, if you flip this around, it's not gonna work properly, okay? You always wanna keep the long portion of the tubing out to the right. Good, I got a nice bend here, lined up. And I'm gonna check again.
You always hold the bender in your left hand?
Always.
Bend with your right.
You got it. Okay.
It's like reading a book, left to right.
Okay, and I'm gonna bring it down to my 90, okay? All right, pop this open. Okay, and now, if I'm following my diagram, I have the proper bend, okay? It comes out. Again, we can check it with the square, okay, and make sure that it is square. It's very important that it is, guys, okay? And again, I'm gonna show you how to do one more measurement here before we get started. Where are we going from? The center of the tube, of the previous bend. So now I'm down here. I'm gonna put my tape measure on the center of the tubing, okay? I have a 5-inch measurement here. I'm gonna measure from the center down. I'm gonna make my mark all the way around. Okay, got my 5 inches. Again, mark all the way around the tubing. If you take the time to do these little steps, okay, it will make your life a lot easier in the end. And we can see from our diagram, I want this tubing now to go this direction, okay? I want my bend to come here, so that's where I'm going to make my mark. I put my line here, take my tubing benders, okay, here. All right, I'm gonna put the mark inside so I can't see it, so it's facing down into the tube, wherever I want it to bend, that's where my mark is gonna go. Line my zeros up on the tube bender, bring my mark over to the 90 degree. Again, straighten it out, line it up with the face here of the tube benders itself, best as I can, and bend down to 90 degrees, okay? Now, I have that proper bend. It's starting to look what I want it to look like here on our diagram, okay? Make sense? Any questions, folks? No? Okay. It's very important, you guys, that when you get this tubing off of the rack here, that you file the ends down, okay? They are incredibly sharp. They've been cut with chop saw. They'll slice you up really quick, okay? So we do have files over on the wall over there, okay? The last thing, folks, hold on now, hold on. When we get to the end of this, okay, it is a 2-inch bend at the very end. This is gonna be too long, all right? So you're gonna have to take some copper cutters and make that measurement here and cut that last portion off, okay? Do your best to keep it nice and flat. Take your time, okay? Take your time. If you're unsure of which way to make the bend, ask, okay? We get one chance, folks, today to make this proper.
Hey folks, so another part of this whole bending project that we're going to do today, there's an important part when it comes to ordering material. Now when you measure up your product or your projects or whatever project you're working on out in the field, it's important that you calculate all of the bends. So every time you make a bend, you gain piping or tubing, okay? So an important part of this is the IPT book. And if you roll over to pages 109, that's where it starts to give you the instruction on how to make a bend properly. Okay, so when it comes to ordering material, maybe you're brand new, you just started a company, you don't have that much money, or you're trying to save the company that you're working for a few dollars. Well, every time that you make a bend, you end up gaining in piping. So you may not necessarily have to order as much piping or tubing as you thought, okay? So if you turn to page 115 in the IPT book, it talks about the gain factor, okay? So in the chart on page 115, it shows you in one column the tube size, okay? So right here tells you tube size, okay? And you would come down to whatever tubing you're bending, okay? So for 3/8 tubing, you would follow across in the column, okay? And on a 90-degree bend, you're gonna gain 0.40 of an inch. Or if you go right beside it, it shows us the 10.2 millimeters, okay? And that's for a 90-degree bend, okay? As you go across the column, you'll also see that it shows you what you're gonna gain for a 45-degree bend. Okay, and beside that, of course, 1 millimeter of gain, okay? So you may save your company lots of dollars and cents by knowing how to do this calculation, right? And when you order your material, you're not ordering an abundance of material that at the end is just gonna get cut off and, you know, discarded. There's another little secret to this stuff, using the bender, okay? And I'll use the pipe fitters as my example. Okay, so pipe fitters, when you're up bending tubing, you might come into an instance where, you know, you guys are used to bending, putting your measured mark on that 90, okay, and then you bend that 0 down, you match it up with a 90, great. But what happens when your piece of tubing is up in the rack and there's a valve in the way and you can't make that full bend? You're gonna get on the other side of that tubing, and now your measured mark is gonna be lined up with the R. R for reverse. That's how I remember it, okay? So reverse. Now you're gonna get on the opposite side of the tube. You've bent it all the way like this, but now you're stuck and you can't make that full bend, okay? So now you're just gonna get on the other side and you're gonna line up your measured mark with that R. Use the reverse.